Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan, and you are watching the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo TV and brought to you by the Predictive Playbook. And as always, I have my good friend, pal, professional sports bettor Ronald Cabang in the house to talk about NBA. We have 3 games going tonight, and we're going to get started right away here with the first one, which is the Toronto Raptors. Looking, they're kind of against the wall now, Ronald. They lost badly in game 1 by 20 with the 76ers covering the spread easily as 4.5-point favorites. We now see the Sixers as 7.5-point favorites after opening at 6.5. So the market adjusted too, but now the betting community is saying, hey, wait a minute, the Sixers are much better than that. And it looks to me like we had the 76ers possibly undervalued here for game 1 of this series. And maybe Toronto isn't as good as we thought, but do you agree with the market adjustment of 3 points in this game 2 matchup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they dominated that first matchup, and I think another factor in the line movement is the fact that Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent Jr. will be out of possibly out. I think they're currently considered doubtful, but it seems like they're more in line not to play the game. So I think that also has to do with the line here. But I think there is going to be some value on the Raptors here. I was looking at Chris Boucher and Precious Achua and their effect on how the Raptors play. And what I noticed was as far as like player evaluation, defensive rating, Gary Trent Jr. is actually their worst defensive rated player individually for those members who play actual like meaningful minutes. And Precious Achua and Chris Boucher are actually towards the top of that list on this roster. So I think the one thing that could affect this game is the fact that they're going to be a lot lengthier. That's going to be able to limit Maxey from being able to score from wherever that he can, like he did in the first game. So that's one big factor here. And as far as like trend wise, there's a lot to support the Raptors in this game. 18-8-1 against the spread, going from a road to road. Obviously they didn't travel, but away from home. And then you have 15-8-1 against the spread following a previous matchup loss. So in these revenge spots, they do pretty well coming back and making the adjustments. On the other side, the Sixers, 12-19-1 against the spread following a previous matchup win. So, when they play the same team again after a win, they don't. It seems like they kind of go with the same game flow and they don't make the same adjustments, or they don't prepare for adjustments that are going to be made from their opponent. That's what it seems like from a coaching standpoint. To me, it just, with the extra line move going, helping out the Raptors, and the fact that the Raptors become a more defensive-minded team and a lengthier team to stop Maxey and a couple of the other guys. I feel like there's some value on the Raptors here. Maybe the Sixers do still win the game, but the Raptors may cover that 7.5. I think is what the line is at right now.
Yeah, and I like that quite a bit. I like that breakdown for the bounce back. One thing I'll mention to you, I don't put too much credence into this, but I was doing some research in the database and stumbled upon this one. I didn't know it existed. It's not that strong, but home teams in game 2 of any round of the NBA playoffs that won game 1 and covered the spread by double digits. In other words, if they were 4.5, they won the game by 25. By 15 or more. So double digits against the spread cover. In game 2, they are 45-13 straight up, 78% wins, and against the spread, 34-23-1 push. That's 60% winning bets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's over the last 20 playoff seasons. The under, though, 33-24. That's 58% on the blind. I like the combination of what you're saying with the Raptors bounce back. And if they're going to bounce back, this is going to be a very physical game. It's going to be more physical than it was in game 1.
Yeah.
And like you said about Maxey, I mean, what are the odds that one of the greatest coaches there is on the Raptors there, and his adjustments to this game, I think, are going to be significantly in favor of Toronto. So I kind of lean towards the under in this, and just wanted to know what you thought about that angle. 60% winners coming off of double-digit ATS win.
Yeah, well, I mean, off of that too, I also look at that double-digit win factor, and with the Sixers here, it actually leans towards the under. So that's one thing that you just mentioned, right?
Yep.
The 17 and 11 to the under following a double-digit win, the Sixers are, and the fact that we're already looking into the defensive changes that are going to happen towards the Raptors, the under does seem like the right way to look here. The only thing for me is that when I looked at the total last night and then the total this morning, the number has gone down significantly. So there is some value that we've lost there. But with the line going up towards the Sixers, there might be a chance that we can maybe look at the Sixers team total to go under. So that's one way to look. I think
Yeah.
significantly, yeah. I just feel like the length that's going to be in this game for the Raptors are really going to mess with the Sixers game flow. And I definitely think that even if the Sixers limit Raptors from scoring, even if the Sixers somehow find a way to cover, I do like the under as well for both teams to struggle offensively.
Yeah, I just pulled up the team total here on wagertalk.com/odds, which is, in my opinion, the best odds page you can find. Has every single major book that you would ever need. Toronto team total opened at 107. It's now 104. Sixers team total opened at 113 and a half, down to 111 and a half. Paying minus 117 at Bet Online to do over 111 and a half. So you're actually getting pretty good price betting under 111 and a half right now, at least at Bet Online.
Mhm.
That's a great point there.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
mean, I
so
think two. Just one more add to
sure.
that. Like two games ago, two matchups ago, in on March 20th, the Raptors limited the Sixers to 93 points. So it's not really that far of a look there.
Yeah, one thing I've been trying to figure out, I'm going to ask you this here on the show. Thibault with the vaccination, what is it? Personal reasons, or is he? Even if he would get the booster shot today, he's
Yeah,
still disqualified from playing
yeah. Well, he
across the
can't.
border.
You can't really get a booster shot without getting the initial uh, shots, anyways.
Oh,
Um,
so he has never been vaccinated.
that's what it
Oh,
sounds
that's the
like.
part I was
Yeah,
missing.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
that explains that then, why you can't just get the booster and go.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no.
All right, so let's move on to our next game here, and that is another really good matchup. Utah Jazz going up against the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks have Doncic listed as doubtful, and without him, I don't think there's a team in the league, Ronald, that is more dependent on one single player than the Dallas Mavericks are dependent on Luka. And if he's not playing
Mhm.
tonight again, I got to think that Utah is at least the initial lean. I can't put my money behind Dallas without him on the court. But as you can see on the chart here, the line is 206. Actually, 208 there, I believe. And let's check live on wagertalks.com's odds board. It opened at -5, currently still -5.
Mhm.
Dallas is 204 for the total, 205 and a half, up to 206 now at Caesars.
Mhm.
And it looks like it is trending higher. This looks like it's going to catch some steam. But what do you think about this matchup? Do you bet the side now and take a shot that Luka's going to show up and try to play, or do you just bag the side and look at the total?
Mhm. From the news that I saw earlier, it seems like Luka's doubtful. So I think if you're gonna want to try and go on the Mav side, you'd probably want to wait because I think once he's officially doubtful, I think the line's gonna move in favor of if you were to select the Mavs. And if you want the Jazz, you would probably want to take it now, in my opinion. I think one thing here that I looked at, obviously you want to see how the Mavs do without Luca, and like you mentioned, he's such a big factor on the court and such a big name. You want to see how the team does, obviously without him. So I looked into this pretty significantly last night. The Mavericks without Luka Doncic, they're 8-10 straight up, 9-8-1 against the spread without him this so far this season. But if we look at it at another at another viewpoint where they're playing teams who are above 50%. So at least winning teams here. They're 1-8 straight up, 3-5-1 against the spread, and also 7-2 to the under. They're averaging 101.2 in those games, giving up 103.9. So you obviously the total there is it's pretty spot on. But you could still see, I mean, a little bit of value, I think, on the Mavs here. And then I went even a little bit deeper. If we add to that they're the home dog, they're now 0-4 straight up, and 0-4 against the spread, and 4-0 to the under. They're giving up 101.2 points per game and scoring just 96 points per game. So to me here, like from a surface level, you're like, well, they've actually been doing pretty well without Luka, and then you dive in a little bit deeper and you take into consideration different factors like is the team that they're playing a winning team? Where are they playing at, and what is the line? Where is the line at currently? Then you start to see that they're. Initially, I was looking towards the Mavs, but now I'm looking towards the Jazz to cover at least the full game. But I do think that there's a lot of value still on the under as well in this game, just because they're playing such a slow pace. Dallas has been a slow pace team. Both teams are playing solid defense. You can see how Dallas had a game plan of limiting Gobert. I was really surprised to see that he only had one shot attempt that first game.
Incredible.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how they make that change. Are they going to give him more opportunity? I mean, obviously they won their first game, so why make a change at this point, right? So I don't know. There's a lot to think about here, but I do like. Initially, I did lean towards the Mavs, but now I'm leaning towards the Jazz. And when you have that sort of like mindset, that's something where you're just like, all right, forget this game. Let's see if we can find another aspect of the game that we could take advantage of. And for me, it's looking towards that under, whether it's maybe a first quarter, first half, or full game. I'm going to deep dive a little bit more into that, but I'm probably going to make a premium play on this game somewhere.
Yeah, good stuff on it. I mentioned this too. 9-1 under is Dallas in home games when they're facing a good 3-point shooting team like the Jazz are, making 36% or more of their 3-point shot attempts on the season, and that's in games played this season. They're also 19-9 versus teams that are outscoring their opponents by at least 3 points per game on the season in games played in the second half of the season. So not since the All-Star break, but since game number 41. And that's 19-8 to the under. So I know looking at 2 O's as a total makes you want to think over right away. And this, the last 3 years of the scoring increase in the NBA, 2 O's are pretty rare, especially in the regular season. But playoffs, they show up a little bit more often. But I do think contrarian mentality, at least for me, does lean towards the under in this game. And I love doing live in-game betting, and had a really exciting one I just did on Saturday, and it was in the Memphis game. And 249, I had 250.5, and it ended up at 247. But a 3-pointer there at the end. They made 3 shot attempts at a 3-pointer. And they're a good 3-point shooting team. They all 3 clanged, and I won. But at one point, with 2 minutes to go, it had dropped all the way down to 238.5, and then they started fouling, even though they were losing by 10. And of course, nobody misses a free throw when I have the under in a live in-game bet. It had to, make it, make me sit on the hot seat, so to speak. But it all came through. But extending that to this game, I think there is an opportunity in game, because assume these teams get out to a little bit faster start, and it really wouldn't take like a raging start. You could easily get this total in game, I think, up at around 214.5, and then put down 50% of your normal bet, and don't bet it pre-flop. What's the worst thing that happens? They start out playing in the mud, they continue to play in the mud, and they end the game playing in the mud, and you don't make a bet. I mean, there's worse things in the world, right, Ronald?
100%, yep.
So let's move on to our third and final game, and get the slides back up here. And that game is the Denver Nuggets looking to even up the series here against Golden State Warriors. News, at least that I heard this morning, was that Steph Curry is looking good in warm up and the shoot around earlier. He should be good to go tonight, which means that the Warriors should be good to go. And we had Klay Thompson and him on the court at the same time in game one. It looks like that's going to happen again. Um, well, I'll turn it over to you, Ronald, and see where you're going with this game because I have a funny. My gut tells me Denver, but I don't have anything
Mhm.
like concrete from my models or analytics to support that, so it's purely a gut feel. But
Yeah.
what do you see in this matchup for tonight?
Yeah, as far as like a series matchup here, I know. So, one thing that I looked at, when I cap these games, and especially in the playoffs here, I want to look at how they do in the regular season and why things happened the way they did, right? And so, in the first matchup this season, Nuggets won by 3, um, and the Warriors they didn't have Thompson, Green, or Poole, and then obviously both teams struggled there, and Warriors actually shot 16 for 31 from the free throw line and they only lost by 3. So that's one thing that I looked at there, right? And then the next game, the Nuggets beat the Warriors by just 1 point, and there was no Green, no Iggy, no Toscano Anderson off the bench. Thompson just came back in the lineup, and they had Gary Payton starting, and Poole was struggling because he just moved from the starting lineup to the bench. So that was another factor, and they only lost by 1 there. And then the third game, Nuggets won by 7. Jokic had a triple double. Warriors literally didn't have anyone: Wiggins, Green, Payton, Iggy, Thompson, Curry, Otto Porter. They all didn't play. They only won by 7. Then a few days later, Warriors finally get the win against the Nuggets. Jokic nearly gets another triple double, and they didn't have a few players, but Poole adjusted to his new role. Kuminga started to play well. Curry was in the lineup, and to me, on the surface, you see Nuggets 3-1 straight up, and you're like, well, Nuggets should be able to get some wins in this series. But to me, they caught the Warriors in so many bad spots that I feel like it was really misleading. And when I capped this series, I had the Warriors winning 4-1. And I think they continue to do that here. I feel like they're not getting as much respect because of how they played during the regular season. But now the playoffs, they have a whole bunch of experience. And if you look at the surface level, the Nuggets really only have Jokic to rely on, and they've been able to play well even when Jokic gets like triple doubles or near triple doubles. So to me, it's a whole team of Warriors versus one guy on the Nuggets, and I'm going to take the team every single time. They're healthy. They're doing a lot better as far as chemistry wise than a lot of people expected because they had a lot of roster turnover or roster changes, lineup changes throughout the season. But these guys are professionals. They're well coached. I think that the Warriors really. I feel like they're gonna have another route here. They're probably gonna put up another 120 plus points, and I feel like for me the lean here would be the Warriors, ATS, and the over again one more time, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I lean the over as well, and I have a player prop that I actually like that's on Denver, and it's Jeff Green, and the guy that we don't talk too much about really. There's kind of a role player, if you will, but I like the idea that they're going to get him and possibly a couple of the other guys, the bench players especially, more involved in the rotation to try to keep everybody as fresh as possible. In other words, rotations will be faster than they would have normally done in the regular season because of what you said with Golden State putting up 120. Therefore, if you want to beat these guys, Denver has to have a game plan of exceeding that number, obviously. And I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the ways you do that is by faster rotations and getting the starters in and out quicker and more times. So Jeff Green is 9.5 points and assists, minus 115 over at FanDuel. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that one to the window. I like that quite a bit, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that win by halftime, to be honest with you, Ronald. I like that one quite a
Yeah,
bit.
nice.
So, speaking of things that we like quite a bit, our best bets for the show, which is always a difficult endeavor to do to narrow it down. But I'll turn it
Yeah,
over to you and let you present your best bet or best bets for the show, and I'll conclude.
yeah. Let me look at this again. I haven't placed a bet yet. I'm breaking those down now, but I have a lot of looks. I have a lot of leans here. I think for the show purpose, I probably want to go with the 76ers, maybe a team total under. 111.5 is what you called out, right? I
Yep.
think that one is a really good one. I do like the Warriors as well. At some I feel like a full game spread ATS on the Warriors. I also like the over there, but I think as far as the best one, I would say team total under on the Sixers.
Yeah, I like that too. That would be. I join you on a best bet for the show under 111.5 for the Sixers team
Mm,
total. And I'm going to present two live in-game total bets. We like the under in the Philadelphia Toronto game, which is now it opened at 220.5, and it's trading hands here at 215.5 across the board. There's a couple of rogue 216s, but they're going to come down. So my thought here is that why chase the market now when we can do the following? So do 50% of your normal bet size pre-flop at these levels. And then once the game starts, you're hoping for Toronto and Philly to get out to that fast start. They get out to a faster than expected start. You'll be able to get 220.5, which was the open and the highest priced offer so far today in the betting market. And then I would recommend doing 220.5 for your other 50%. And the other one to reiterate is the Utah Dallas game. I'm seeing some 205.5s now creeping up. It opened at 204. But again, this is a chance where you can scale in. I wouldn't bet this pre-flop just because the number is so incredibly low. Basketball
hmm
has a lot of volatility in it, and it's 48 minutes of scoring volatility where teams and games will go averaging like 3.5 points a minute, which is playing in the mud or the sludge, and then it can get as fast as 7.5 points a minute. So you wait for those times, and when that one extreme or the other happens, you buy into the weakness, you sell into the strength. And I think if these teams get out to a fast start, Ronald, you'll be able to get that 214.5 number. And I personally am going to wait to see if I can get that number, and I will do my full bet size at 214.5 instead of scaling it in at 50% and 50%. That shouldn't take much at all in the start of the game to get up to 214.5, and I hope that happens. So that was a good show, Ronald. Appreciate your time as always. Some of your videos have been getting big views. One of them got what 16,000, I think, the other day. So
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah,
that's fantastic, man. It's we're getting there. Yeah, we're
we're
definitely
getting
getting
there.
there.
Yeah,
So very
yep.
good on that. I won another 5% max. I say that humbly because I'm hoping that the betting gods don't watch the end of these shows because they don't like bragging. But it's not bragging, it's fact. I'm 7-0 with the max bets, 67% against the spread over the last 55 NBA plays. I can't be thankful and more grateful enough. So thank you, betting gods. I actually won one on Saturday by the hook, and that was Utah,
hmm
winning by 6 on a 5.5 point line. But when you're running hot, Ronald, you know this. You don't get backdoored. You win by the hook. So
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
enjoy it as long as it lasts because it doesn't last forever.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, for
that'll
sure.
conclude today's show. Thanks again, Ronald, for your time. Thanks to everyone out there that watches these shows. We really appreciate it. Leave some comments, questions in the comment section underneath the YouTube page that we have for SportsMemo TV. And we'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of the NBA Triple Double Show. So until then, bet with your head, never over it, and may all the wins be yours tonight.